over the last 4 weeks, Sam Darnold has been playing out of his mind. And I think it's to the point now through 4 weeks that he's forcing the Minnesota Vikings to ask, should we extend you or should we franchise tag you at the end of the season? If we want to look through the first 4 games of the season, week one against the Giants against a really good defensive line. I know after the game, um, after the beatdown the Vikings put on the Giants, a lot of the talking heads were saying that, the defensive line for the Giants and the defense in totality for the Giants just wasn't very good. They're a bad team overall. But, going into the season, their defensive line with Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, and Brian Burns coming in from Carolina on the other side. I mean, that was a really big talking point in the offseason about how good that defensive line can be. And the Vikings just picked them apart. So week one, Darnold 19 for 24, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He had a really good, really efficient week against the Giants. It wasn't a huge surprise to me that Giants game. I just thought that, I knew that their defensive line is going to be really good, but their DBs and their linebackers aren't extremely deep. So I wasn't extremely surprised at what we were able to do against them. Then you go to week two. You're playing the 49ers. They just went to the NFC or the Super Bowl last year. You're NFC champions. So anytime you get to play the NFC champions, the team that went to the Super Bowl, it really tests your team. Even if they lost some guys, obviously Christian McCaffrey was down, but the Minnesota Vikings also did not have T.J. Hawkinson and Jordan Addison. Plus, I think a couple other guys for that week. So both teams were injured. It's the NFL. That happens. You have to play through it. There's really no excuses. And Sam played a huge, unbelievable game against a really good defense. 17 for 26, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. And I think he really opened a lot of people's eyes that week. Just because, playing against the Giants, defense, really their best part of the defense is their defensive line. I don't think anyone was really nervous about their DBs and what they can do and what they can throw at you. But the 49ers defense altogether is extremely good with Fred Warner in the middle there. Then you go to week three where, it's just pure domination. Sam Darnold really had no issues moving the ball against them. 181 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was 17 for 28, which isn't incredibly efficient. But if you go back and watch that game, it didn't look like he had really any issues moving the ball down the field against them. Against, again, what people were saying in the offseason was a very good defense. Then, week 4, against the Green Bay Packers, my God, that first half was unreal. 28-0 until that muff pump by Jalen Naylor, which I don't want to talk about because that was just disgusting to watch. But yeah, that first half was unreal. Some of the best football I've ever seen. You grew up 28-7 going in a half. Obviously, Green Bay mounts a comeback off some mistakes that the Vikings made in the second half. That interception by Xavier McKinney, I just don't understand how that is allowed to be called a catch in the NFL when you reviewed it. But besides that, Vikings get the win in Lambeau against a really good Packers team, a really good Packers defense that came into this week with the most turnovers, and only had one interception, which again I don't think should have counted. But he also had that fumble that allowed the Packers to get really good field possession and make the lead 28-22. So other than that, through the first 4 games, the dude has been balling out, right? And now we're going to look at this, say, all right, the Vikings in the offseason, they draft J.J. McCarthy with the number 10 overall pick. They bring in Sam Darnold, which I don't know why the talking heads have continued to say that Sam Darnold was going to be J.J. McCarthy's backup coming into the season, because that's just completely false. That was never said by any of the coaches, the front office, nobody. Sam Darnold was going to be the starting QB through the whole season. I don't understand where that narrative came to. So now we're going to get extremely ahead of ourselves and look at the projected end of year stats for Sam Darnold. As of right now, the guy is averaging 233 yards a game, which is, I mean, that is extremely solid. If your starting quarterback is throwing for 233 yards a game, you're going to win some games in the NFL. I mean, that is a very good average, especially with how efficient he's been. And that's a total for 3,961 yards. Yeah, I could 100% see that being over 4,000 yards at the end of the season, maybe like 4,100, a little less. Then you look at the touchdowns. Right now, he's averaging 2.75. He's got 11 on the year. I would have never guessed that he'd be playing this well through the first 4 games, averaging 2.75 touchdowns a game, which is a 46.75 touchdown total at the end of the season. I don't think that he's going to get to 46. I could possibly see 40. 46 is just, it's tough to keep up those numbers. There's a lot of ups and downs in the NFL. But I could definitely see him getting to 40 touchdowns with how good this offense has been, especially when you get Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson back. I think this offense is going to be top 3 at the end of the year for sure. And then you have interceptions, which Sam Darnold has struggled with a lot. The dude threw a lot of interceptions before he came to the Vikings. And right now he's throwing less than 1 a game. If he ends his season with 13 interceptions and 40 or more touchdowns, it becomes extremely hard for the Vikings to say, we're moving on. We're moving on from you, Sam Darnold, and we're going to J.J. McCarthy, who we drafted. I mean, 10 overall is not nothing. I mean, you are basically saying we trust this guy to be our franchise quarterback in a top 10 pick. So, and again, I like J.J. McCarthy. I think that I'm on the side that I think he is our future. But when I'm looking at Sam Darnold play right now, I'm not sure what you can do. I don't think you can let him walk. So on the other side of an extension, there is a possible franchise tag that we could do for Sam Darnold. And I think when people talk about franchise tag, they feel like, oh, we can just franchise tag him and play 1 more year with him. We don't have to make a decision now. Well, the franchise tag for a QB is projected to be $42 million next year. That is a lot of money. I mean, Kirk Cousins is making like $45 million a year. So I would rather see an extension or an immediate franchise tag and trade. I don't think that we want to be playing Sam Darnold on a $42 million contract with the amount of salary cap money that we're going to have next season. I'd like us to be able to take advantage of the J.J. McCarthy contract over the next 4 years. Invest in our defense, invest in the players around him, maybe invest on some interior offensive linemen. I really like the way that Blake Brandel has played. But that $42 million a year, that's a lot of money to be paying Sam Darnold when you have just drafted a first-round quarterback. So I mean, moving to JJ's future as QB1. We saw in the preseason how good this guy can play. The dude's accurate. He can hit on the deep balls. But again, that's just the preseason. A lot of things can happen in the regular season that could show us maybe the true colors of JJ. Again, the dude is 20 years old right now. So let's say that we take Sam Darnold and we play him next year. JJ will be 21 years old by the next time the next season rolls around, where it's 3rd year in the NFL. I mean, that's a dream scenario. Dude already has 2 full seasons under his belt, learning from a guy like Sam Darnold, who obviously knows how to play football. We've seen it through 4 weeks now, and through some games in Carolina. I think this is the best case scenario for JJ. I think that he was extremely raw coming out of Michigan. I don't think that he got to show his talent a ton at Michigan. Obviously, they're a run-heavy offense. But it was also a pro-style offense. The dude knows how to be under center, run play action, and do it really efficiently. He knows how to process reads. He's not just jumping kind of anywhere, trying to find one guy that's open. He goes through his reads, he progresses, he processes, and he sees the field very efficiently, like we saw in preseason. Now, I don't totally think that our our entire team success, the Vikings' success, is all Sam Darnold. I think having an incredible defense like Brian Flores' defense can take a ton of pressure off of our offense. First of all, we haven't even played behind a lead for more than like 3 minutes all season, which is insane. And for one, that gives Sam Darnold the opportunity to just breathe. It's not like he has to come down or come back from, you know, 10-0 or 7-0, whatever it may be, and he's allowed to make a few mistakes. Obviously, he's had basically one or two mistakes a game, which you can live with when you have such a good defense. I mean, you look at Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and I'm not trying to compare Patrick Mahomes to Sam Darnold. Patrick Mahomes is the best QB in the NFL, but Patrick Mahomes makes a lot of mistakes. He throws a lot of picks, but that defense is what allows him to do that. And lastly, it gives Sam Darnold the comfort that he doesn't need to do everything on offense. He has so many guys around him that are able to move the ball when they get the ball. Just put the ball in Justin Jefferson's hands, in Jordan Addison's hands, Aaron Jones, TJ Hawkinson when he gets back, and Jalen Naylor, who's proved to be a incredible wide receiver 3. I think one of the, if not the best, wide receiver 3 in the NFL. Just put the ball in those guys' hands, and they'll run the rock for you. You don't need to do everything on this team, especially with their defense. All right, let's look at the realistic costs of an extension for Sam Darnold. So I compared Baker Mayfield to Sam Darnold. Looking at Baker Mayfield's contract extension. Oh, and the reason why I'm comparing Baker Mayfield to Sam Darnold is I do believe that they are similar players in skill set. I do think that Sam Darnold is the better passer. I think that overall Baker Mayfield is the better player. I do think that Sam Darnold is a more skilled passer though. If you look at Baker Mayfield's contract, he's on a 3-year, $100 million contract, which is one of the best contracts in the NFL. When you look at some of the quarterbacks that are being paid $55 million a year. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is on a $55 million a year, and that dude looks like a bum. So I think this is an incredibly good contract. He's getting paid $33 million a year. He got a $28 million signing bonus, and he's an unrestricted free agent 2027. I think he's going to be extended past that point, maybe for another 3 years on like a 3-year, $170 million contract. And he's going to be 32 years old when the contract ends. That's definitely going into the second half of his career, but that's not old by any means for a quarterback. So if you're going to look at Sam Darnold, right now, I think realistically, we're not going to sign Sam Darnold to a 3-year contract because we have JJ McCarthy under contract for the next 4 years. I would find it hard to believe that we would sign another quarterback to be under contract for 3/4 of JJ McCarthy's contract when you have an extremely team healthy contract under quarterback. I don't know if this would be the smart decision, but let's look at it. So my prediction would be a 2-year, $75 million a year contract. That's $37.5 million a year. Which I mean, you look at what Kirk Cousins is being paid, and that's $45 million a year. And right now, Sam Darnold is much more efficient. He's putting out more yards, more touchdowns. And I think that's a pretty fair assumption that Sam Darnold will be paid this. I think even by any team. I'd say the Vikings don't extend him, they let him walk. I think this is pretty close to what he would be paid on other teams. Let's even say Carolina, who I don't think is going to stick with Bryce Young. I'd be surprised how awful he's looked. And the way that Andy Dalton's been playing, proving that I don't think that it was Bryce Young's. I don't think it was the team around him. I think it was definitely his fault. And he'll be 30 years old if we sign him for a 2-year extension. He'll be 30 years old when that contract ends. Sam Darnold is 27 years old right now. That is pretty young for a quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is older than Sam Darnold. So I don't think it would be a horrible decision to sign him for 2 years, $75 million contract. JJ McCarthy gets to learn for another 2 years. And let's say in his contract year in 2026 that the Vikings are 3-4 or 3-5, through the first half of the season. Then you're able to put in JJ McCarthy, who's sat for 2 years now, a little over 2 years, and say, all right, we've given you the time, you've been able to learn, and stick him in and see what he can do. So, what do you guys think? Do you think we should franchise tag or extend Sam Darnold? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I appreciate you guys watching this video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.